So with our breathing activity today, we're just gonna inhale, get big, exhale, get small. And any way that you want to get big or get small, valid. So if I would like to do this sitting, I can. If I want to just go crazy with it, and when I get big, I'm swinging my arms around, that's fine too. So let's go ahead and do it together. I'm going to inhale, arms up, take up plenty of space. Really feel that my arms are stretching out to the side. And then exhale, I'm going to come into a little crouch. And then inhaling again. And exhale. Mm. Somebody's taking some beautiful deep breaths here. You may want to mute yourselves. Beautiful. This time as I'm inhaling, I'm going to inhale a little bit more to the right. And exhale, get small again. Even going to curl my head in. Beautiful. And now when I inhale, I'm going to go to the left and get small again. Beautiful. One last one. I'm going to reach up specifically this time and hold for a moment before I get small, just by folding over. Lovely. So now we're going to take a moment to really get warm here before we start diving into the stretching. To do that, we're going to do a squat to calf raise. So I'm going to have my feet comfortable width apart, whatever you like for squatting. You can play with it, you weren't locked in. Um, and whatever you do, whatever width you do, you want your knees to be tracking over your second and third toe. So they don't have to go past the second and third toe, but that's the direction that your knees are aiming. Hopefully that's clear. So I'm going to do my calf raise, and then I'm going to come down into a squat, and another calf raise, and down. Now, you guys may not be able to see my feet and ankles, but I am aiming for things to stay in a straight line. So we've got toes, ankle, knee, just pretend this is a leg. We're trying to keep everything in a straight line. There's a tendency for the ankle to flare out to the side. We're aiming away from that as we go down and up. If you have been letting your ankle flare out to the side, you'll probably notice that it feels a little bit different engaging your calf muscles this way. And as always, if balance is tricky coming up onto your toes, hold on to something really solid here. Beautiful. One more here. Then we're going to switch position. We're going to take care of the back of our legs a little bit. We did the calf raises for our calves, and then the squats target a lot of things, quads, glutes, many, your core stabilizers, many things. They don't target the glutes in a really complete way. They can, depending on your femur length, but for a lot of people, they don't. So we're going to do a glute kickback where I'm just taking my heel, in my case, my left heel, bringing it up towards the ceiling, pausing at the top, seeing if I can squeeze up a little bit higher, and then coming down. Now, if you've been upright all day, it might feel really nice to have a little variety of your movement. And in that case, you can hinge at the hips and do it in this position. But it's really a choose your own adventure story as to whether you're tipped over or not. So pause at the top, squeeze up a little bit higher, then come down. If you are bent over, I'm going to encourage you to check in with your back. Make sure your back is nice and flat. Your core is still engaged, even if your hands are on something. Beautiful. Pause at the top, squeeze up a little bit higher, then come down. And now we're going to do this with a bent knee. So I have approximately 90-degree angle in my knee, and I'm going to come up, squeeze up a little bit higher, then come down. Now, if you can feel that there's a good stretch happening in your standing leg, you're welcome to bend that knee and be comfortable. That won't ruin anything. Awesome. Let's switch sides here. So I'm putting my left foot down and I'm going to bring my right leg straight up behind me. Pause at the top, squeeze up a little bit higher, then come down. Now, one thing to note as I'm doing this is I'm not torquing through my hips. I'm not allowing my hip bones to raise or lower as I'm doing this. Everything's pretty solid, except for just that one leg keeps moving. I'm checking in with my breathing here. And I'm also feeling, are there any side to side differences? Does this leg feel very different than the other one? In my case, my right hamstring, the standing leg, actually was a lot tighter than the left one. Just something interesting to note. And then maybe show a little extra compassion for throughout the rest of the day. Bending at the knee now. Pause at the top. Squeeze up a little bit higher. Then come down. Time under tension is a really good tool for building strength and endurance. And it can also help you feel that you're using the right muscles, right? When I pause at the top and I'm squeezing up a little bit higher, I could probably feel it pretty well in my glutes. Nice. One last one here. Beautiful. And now staying in whatever position you're in. So if you're hip hinged over or if you're upright, same story. But I'm going to start with my left leg, bend at the knee, and just draw the biggest circle I possibly can with my knee around my hip joint. And for this, I can definitely have some rotation. If you're standing up, you may want to hold on to something, but it's going to look like this. Beautiful. And I'm trying to get deep into all four corners of this. Let's switch sides. So now I'm using my right leg, drawing the biggest circle I can with my right knee around my right hip bone. Lovely. So thinking about bringing my knee as far across my body as I possibly can, as far up or towards my chest as I possibly can, out a little bit farther than it would if I wasn't thinking about it, and then back and down and continuing around that circle. Beautiful. Go ahead and put both feet on the ground now. We're going to go into a nice wide squat. So toes pointed out. Feet are pretty wide apart here, as wide as you're comfortable. And I'm going to sink down into a nice wide squat, sumo squat. From here, placing my hands on my knees and just using my hands to help myself into a nice little stretch here. Pressing the knees back. And to get a nice little twist, I'm going to drop my right shoulder down and look to the left. And coming back to center. Taking a moment to reset, maybe a nice deep breath, and then going to the other side. So dropping my left shoulder down and looking to the right. Beautiful. Coming back to center and coming on up. So now what we're going to do is a stretch for the hip flexors. We've done this stretch many times before, but it is a really good one, especially if you're sitting a lot because the hip flexors are shortened. And if you're standing a lot and you're prone to having a serious arch in your lower back, right, you tend towards that position. Also a shortened position for the hip flexors. So that's why we tend to do it so much. To do this, I'm going to take a big step forward with my right foot, and then I can come down into a lunge position or not. Choose your own adventure based on what's, reasonable for your body. Either way, I am going to tuck my pelvis. So like I have, my tailbone is a tail, and I'm going to tuck it between my legs. That's what I'm going for here. So I've tucked my pelvis. I might already be feeling a stretch in the front of the left leg, front of the leg that's going back. I'm going to check in with my hip bones, make sure that the left hip bone is driving forward a bit. Check in with my lower abs, glutes and hamstring, making sure everything's tucking the pelvis under. And then I'm going to reach up with my left hand. And I'm just going to hang out here. If you want to hold on to something just so you can relax into the stretch, that could be really nice. Taking some really lovely deep breaths here. Every time you inhale, try and get a little bit longer through the spine. And every time you exhale, try to tip over a little bit more. Not through my middle, but from my hips. That makes sense. So bringing my shoulders, maybe from the front, you can see a little bit better. But bringing my shoulders this way, my whole rib cage this way, rather than just trying to bend over. Now, if this is a stretch that you really love, it might be nice to even put your knee on the ground and relax into it that way. That's for your own time, or choose your own adventure option. We're going to go to the other side now. So now I'm stepping forward with my left leg, right leg is going back, and I'm tucking the pelvis again, tucking my tailbone under. It's a subtle change visually, but it should feel like something. Checking in with lower abs, glutes and hamstrings, and the leg going back. Finding that stretch here. Then whenever you're ready, bringing your right arm up and over. And just taking a moment to breathe into it. Feeling that big stretch. If it's uncomfortable for you, you can always back out of it. Adjust, come back to the place that it felt like a little stretch. Or if it just feels so funky and foreign, you could sort of come in and out of the stretch. Lovely. A lot of times when people have tight hip flexors, they also have a tight lower back. It's a movement compensation that happens for people. And so the next stretch that we're going to do, step on out of this one, we're actually going to hug knees in towards the chest. If you're at home, you feel comfortable being down on the floor, you could do this in a child's pose kind of a position. You could do this laying on your back. I'm going to show the position that you could do anywhere using a chair or just, sitting down wherever you are. So I'm going to hug first my left knee into my chest, trying to round out through my lower back. So I'm engaging my lower abs to be able to do that. Then I'm going to hug my right knee into my chest. And then I'm going to take time to just hug both knees into my chest. Again, engaging those lower abs, really trying to tuck the pelvis so I'm getting into my lower back and getting a nice stretch for my body there. If you can't or don't feel comfortable doing this one, sometimes people are able to get into their lower back with a forward fold kind of a stretch, like a toe touching kind of a stretch. But there are some confounding factors in there because you also have hamstrings involved and some other things. So whenever you're ready, come out of that lower back stretch. Take one last really nice deep breath in and complete exhale out. And I hope you have a fantastic afternoon. Take care, everybody.